Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to another meeting of the Midnight Book Society. That is my book club, and this month I am joined by the wonderful, fabulous, freaking coolest person I know, Amy from Noel Reese. I will forever call you the coolest person I know. There's just like a cool aura about Amy. I can't explain why. It's just there. It's natural. She's like, oh, I'm cool, but she doesn't even say that. It's just her. It's like her whole vibe. It's what she encompasses.
I don't understand that, but thank you.
I don't even know why, but I'm just telling you, it's the aura you give off, Amy.
Well, thanks.
It's true.
I'll take it.
So, guys, we are talking about Touch the Night by Max Booth III. My copy's in the kitchen because I was literally scarfing down food at 6:59. I was just done, rushed in here, and I was like, Amy, I'm so sorry. She was in the backstage area before me. So, yeah, my copy's accidentally in the kitchen, but Amy's got her copy because she's always on the ball and ready. It's part of being a cool cat, being on the ball, apparently.
It's funny.
So, guys, before we get into spoilers, I just want to hear everyone's general thoughts about Touch the Night. Have you read anything in general? Anybody in the comments by Max Booth III? I know a lot of people have. I know Amy has read from Max Booth III before. And let's just talk a little bit about him and his style and other things that we've all read by him. And then feel free also, anybody and everybody, to drop your rating of Touch the Night specifically in the comments. And we'll just get to, a whole bunch of things. Anything you guys want to say about this, about the author, whatevs, drop it. Amy, your other experiences with Max Booth III. I only have one other experience, but how about you? What are your thoughts of his other work you've read?
I have read 2 other books. I think one of the same ones that you have. I've read We Need to Do Something, and I've read Maggots Screaming. I read both of those last year, and they both made my top 10 of the year. So that kind of shows I'm a fan of his writing style. I think my favorite that I've read, though, is We Need to Do Something. Maggots Screaming is a close, but We Need to Do Something is definitely my favorite. I just really like something that I've noticed in all 3 is I feel like his sense of humor really comes through in his books. He definitely writes a lot of he does gross pretty good. And I think another common theme amongst all his books is all of his characters are kind of unlikable. But for myself, I found them I was still able to root for them and hope for a good outcome for them. But he writes really flawed characters really well, kind of unlikable characters, and really gross stuff pretty good.
Yeah, I will say, so I do agree about the unlikable characters and definitely about the gross. He's great at gross. And does somebody want to be known for being great at gross? I don't know. I think he does want to be known for that because he keeps writing it.
So. Yeah, I think so.
I honestly am so intrigued by Maggots Screaming, but like you said, I did read We Need to Do Something, and I loved that book. I thought it was so wonderful, and it was really short and quick, but still impactful. And I know Maggots Screaming isn't super, super long. I think Touch the Night is one of the longest books I've seen by him, but he might have more long books that I just don't realize.
I actually have Maggots Screaming right here. I think this one is close to the same. Maybe
not. Really? It just looks so small in pictures when I see it online.
It's 324, so it's 100 pages less, but it's it's not as
you froze there, or I froze. One of us froze. It could be me.
I don't know.
All right, you're back.
Okay, good.
So wait, Touch the Night, I don't have the physical copy. Isn't it more than 400 pages?
Mine is... What's the page number? 402.
402, yeah, that's what I thought. And no audiobook. Amy thought there was an audio just to tell everybody.
I freaking swear. I don't know what happened. But I remember I had it on my saved for so long on Scribd, or at least something with that picture, with this, or not this picture, but the picture
the
with
lights. With it's like this guy with weird lights in his eyes.
The only thing I can think of is maybe I got that because the ebook I think is on there. So maybe I got the ebook and the audiobook confused or something, because then when I went to go look for it, I could not find it. And then I looked on Audible and everywhere, and I was like, oh no. But I ended up having Alexa read it to me while I followed along.
Oh, that's a great idea. I always forget about that option. Oh,
I did have to buy the ebook, which is only $5, but which I was a little bit bent out of shape about, but good thing I ended up not hating this, so it's fine.
Oh, good. That's kind of a spoiler then. So you
Kinda.
did not hate it.
No.
Because I don't know what Amy thinks about it, but she knows what I thought about it because she saw my story graph. Damn story graph. I shouldn't have updated it because now she got spoiled for my thoughts. But and everybody, I want to know everybody's thoughts. Katrina is here, by the way, and I know she loved this book. It was kind of in her recent favorite reads video that she released, so I know Katrina liked it. Katrina, give us your thoughts. Why'd you like it so much? I know you've enjoyed Max Booth III before. I definitely want to hear your thoughts because I know you loved it and ended up giving it a 5. I believe at first, because I watched Katrina's vlog while she was reading it, it was actually around like a 4 or 4.5, but the more she thought about it afterwards, she ended up rounding it up. It's very creepy that I know people's in-depth thoughts and like I remember them, like I'm taking mental notes, like I know what people think. I'm gonna keep it in my head and use it against them or something. I'm not. It's just funny the way I remember people's thoughts. Hello, hi, cool gamer, Andrew. Speaking of Andrew, he sent me clips from our Twilight drunk commentary, and I don't even remember half the shit he said.
No.
No, it's hilarious. It is hilarious. But if you don't want to hear me say orgasm and sperm 1,000 times, I would not listen to it. But if you do, then you are in luck because
I can't wait.
It's going to be a wild time. So anybody who is interested in hearing our drunk commentary of Twilight the movie, it is going to be up on my Patreon like tomorrow. So fun stuff there. Yeah. I'm very excited because it is pretty hilarious. Hi, Halko. Vanessa, how are you? In defense of Amy, sometimes audiobooks just disappear from Scrib. That's true. And audiobooks can just occasionally disappear in general.
Yeah. I don't think that was the case with this one, though. I think I just mislooked at something because I was like, let me check Amazon and just see if one actually exists, and I can't see one existing anywhere, so I must have looked at something wrong.
Unless they decided to like revamp it or something and like just take it down and then like upload a new version, but I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that maybe too, which maybe that's the case, because I don't know about all of his books, but at least the other 2 that I read have audio, and I think usually he has audio with his books. So I don't know why this one doesn't, but
that's why it's suspicious. Like it doesn't seem like there's no audio for real. Like there at one point maybe was, but I still did enjoy my time reading it, despite what you saw in Storygraph. I still had a good time. I'm still glad I read it. I guess this is kind of getting into not a story spoiler, but a spoiler of my thoughts on the story. So I gave it about a 3. So it's kind of low for me because I'm usually a
So you hated it, basically.
Everyone always jokes how a 3 for me means I hated it, or a 3.5, I hated it. Even a 4, hated. No. I did not hate it. I just didn't love it like I did We Need to Do Something. And I think because of the stark difference of feelings I had between the 2 books, for me personally, I think that like really affected my enjoyment. And it also just felt very long to me, and like I would have tightened it up a little bit. That's one of the reasons why I kind of gave it towards a 3 versus like a 4. And also, like you said, he does write unlikable characters, and I usually don't mind a fun unlikable character, but sometimes it's hard for me to root for them. Like at first I was like, okay, I'm not really a huge fan of Otessa, but at least I like Mary, and these are the moms in the story, by the way, guys. And but there comes a point where I actually stop liking both of them, and then I'll say when that point is when we get into spoilers in a minute. But also the boys, I had a hard time relating to them too. I did feel for them when they were like in the grasp of those weirdos, but also I wanted more about the weirdo dudes. I wanted so much more background about that. And I'm usually okay with like not a lot of information or if things are left out. But I was like, man, I just feel like there's like such an opportunity to like dive deep and to hear more from them and from their perspective, the evil dudes, the
Mhm.
weird family at the farm or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
So those were my gripes. Those were the reasons why I gave it around a 3. And Katrina said that I reiterated her thoughts perfectly. So
Oh, good.
uh,
So
Vanessa,
should
oh,
I
go
give
ahead.
my rating? Do you want me to?
Yeah, I want to know.
On Goodreads, I gave it a 4. On Storygraph, I gave it a 4.25. I really liked it. I do agree that the characters definitely, in at least in the beginning for me, I was like, "Ooh, like this is going to be a little bit harder for me to get into," or I thought it was going to be that way. Um, both the moms and both the boys, I was like, man, I don't relate. I don't like, who are these people? They're just like so aggressive, like in everything. They're just like quick on a dime to be violent and just like make weird decisions. And like them being 12 and just like acting like that, and the moms being moms, and I don't know. Yeah, they were definitely kind of a little bit harder to get on board with. But once like the boys got to the cornfield and all of that started happening with the cops in the house and all of that stuff, my care that they were unlikable kind of went out the window, and I really just got on board with the story. And I personally, I love just like how wild Max Booth gets in his stories and how gross it gets and how bloody it gets, and it just it checked all of my boxes that I look for in his stories at this point, just like wacky and wild and all that stuff.
I do agree with the weird stuff. Like I did like when they were at the farm. I did like the confrontation with the police officers. I loved the weirdo twins in the cornfield.
Mhm.
That was so creepy. I loved all of that and I would have loved it if like we had stopped going back to the moms. Although some of the mom stuff was funny. Like I
Yeah.
do think it's funny that they literally go into the sheriff's station and like hold people up and they're like, "Yo." Like
I'm just like, what is happening? Who are these people? Like,
yeah.
who does this? Did you read the author's note in the book?
I don't think I did.
Because my thing when that happened, I was like, who does this? Apparently, Max Booth's mom has pulled a gun on a cop. So I was like, oh, okay, that's where I got inspiration from. So
I didn't realize that. Why didn't I read the author's note? That's incredible.
I was like, so people do that, I guess. I guess he relates to these kind of people. These kind of people, do exist. And I'm sure depending on stuff. But yeah, that was a wild. I was like, what? How and just like how like these women respond to things, I was like, they had to have known when they walked into that sheriff's station. One of them had a gun. Like it was not going to end in like a peaceful talk. They brought in peace for a
So
reason.
I liked the sheriff's station scene, even though I felt it was a little unbelievable because I
Yeah,
was like, how are they not getting stopped? I mean, eventually they kind of did in a way. Like
yeah,
somebody came in who wasn't kind of put behind bars and they're
yeah,
like, you let him go. And then shit went to hell.
yeah.
But I will say, I love that part. I kind of liked the action that started when they were at the McDonald's.
Oh yeah,
Peeping and creeping from across the street.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like other parts I didn't like as much. Like when they were going through the video of the boys, I thought that was okay. I do think it was interesting, by the way, the all the Darrens are the Darings the I should know this. It's freaking from Katrina. The Daresinger Dare
I don't
the
know what you're trying to say.
the bridge incident with the gun that they were talking about. I don't know if like
Okay.
you probably didn't pay attention to it as much because it was just something that they kept talking about from Katrina when the police like killed some people on like a bridge,
Oh,
and the boys kept talking about that and how like all their teachers were, so it was an interesting commentary on race and how that it was a real life thing that happened during Hurricane Katrina here in like Louisiana,
oh.
and
Mhm.
it was a huge deal like here in the news. That's why I noticed it because it was mentioned multiple times in the story. And I felt that to be very interesting because, again, I used to be an associate producer for like a news show for a couple of years at our local PBS affiliate station, and the news show would talk about that bridge trial and incident for years after Katrina. Like that's how big of a deal it was here. It was a huge thing. Oh no, Vanessa has COVID. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, that sucks.
That does suck. Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear this too. Might be getting re-edited for a re-release, perhaps for the audio. Yeah, maybe so.
Oh, maybe.
Sorry, I am dying. Maybe I have COVID. No, I don't.
No,
Knock on wood. I just cough a lot. Paul's like, you cough more than anyone I know. I'm like, I know. Yeah, I am so sorry. Katrina's been coughing too. She seems like she's suspicious that she might have something. No, Katrina. She said that this felt like a modern Texas Chainsaw Massacre for her. I do think that's a good comparison. And the back of the book did talk about like how it had that vibe and Stranger Things vibe. Like, do you think it matched up to that, Amy?
I haven't seen all of Stranger Things. I've only seen, I think, the first maybe 1-2 seasons. But yeah, I feel like it's equally kind of strange and definitely with the family vibe of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and it being out in the middle of nowhere and stuff. Yeah, I could see the similarities.
Yeah, I thought it was a good comparison, especially like the Stranger Things vibe. I think the reason they compared it to Stranger Things is because of the weird elements, and Stranger Things does have some weird alien-like elements. And also, not that the cover should like color your comparison to a show, but the cover, for some reason, both versions, the version that you saw on Scribd with the ebook, with like the colored like eyes, both versions looked like Stranger Things movie posters to me for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, maybe the color scheme.
Yeah, I think it is the color scheme, and just the illustration style is very much like a Stranger Things poster.
Yeah,
illustration style.
Yeah.
And I did like the whole idea of like, you know, kind of you're isolated in like this weird farmhouse, like in the middle of nowhere. That did feel very Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's this unhinged family, and they do consider themselves a family, and they're, you know, just causing havoc and being violent. And I did love the scenes in the basement. Like that was awesome. And I do want to put up the spoiler little banner because I do want to get into some spoilers, like the ending and how I want to know your thoughts on the ending. Were you satisfied? Did you want more? Did you think it wrapped up a little quickly? That was one of my gripes too. I didn't mind not knowing more, but I did want it to be dragged on a little bit longer. Like I wanted just a little bit more there.
I feel the same. When it ended like it did, or I guess we could say when it ends with like Josh running off, I was like, no, like you can't just end there. You know, obviously he wants to go try and find his mom. But I wanted more. Like Mary had, or not Mary, Otessa. She had just came out of the ground. Like, I want to know what's going on there. I want to see what's happening at the house. And yeah, it just ends with him like running out of the cornfield or running through to get out of the cornfield. I was like, no, I need more.
I know.
But I don't think it didn't really make me angry. I just kind of wanted more. I don't really think it affected my rating too much. It definitely, if I wouldn't have liked a lot of other stuff, it probably would have, but it definitely took it down at least a half star because of.
Yeah. I think it would have been a solid 3.5 for me, or almost a 4 had it been a little more extensive at the end, and had we had more time like at the farm and with the boys in general, because I just loved those scenes so much.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, especially when it was just them like at their house, or you know, us spending time with like the unhinged husband of Mary, who I hated, but we don't really get. I mean, we get a little bit more with him. I guess I wanted less with the moms, like more concise with the moms, but still go back to them just a little bit tighter, I guess.
I feel like the reason, because I felt the same, like I really wanted, like if it would have just been at the house and in that like house, that space, the whole time, like that would have been an awesome book too. And but I think the reason that like they kept bringing them out of the cornfield and back into the house, and we had to keep going back and forth, was so that the book could show the influence of this space, this house and this cornfield and whatever this was, the influence that it spread throughout the town, because Jasper had that influence, the sheriff had that influence. They were all kind of infiltrated with hatred, basically, and violence, and how that spread, that infection kind of just spread out throughout the town.
That's a good point. That kind of makes me want to rate it higher. Like, I said 3.5. I like that point a lot. Like I said, there were a lot of positive elements, but I guess it was just sometimes it felt like my reading was like going so long that like it had like a weird effect on me to where I was like, no, a 3. I don't know. It was just something in the moment. I was like, just a little tighter. And I usually don't care about something being a chunkier book. That's usually not a problem for me. This is a good question. Andrew wants to know, what inspired you to do the extra 0.25? Just vibes, or is there a specific thing? Well, I know you use Compile.
I do, and that's basically the reason. It's because I use Compile, and it got the percentage that I got. Let me actually look on my spreadsheet. I can do that, but I can't show you guys because it's not mine. But let me look and see what exactly it got. But that was the case. It rated, the percentage that it got was under a 4.5, or I think it might have actually came up a 4.5, but the number was, let's see, it got a 8.36, which a 9 is a 5, and a 7, I think, starts the 4. So once it hits 8 in Compile, in the spreadsheet that I use, it automatically goes up to a 4.5. But this didn't quite feel like a 4.5 to me. So even though it still hit over the 4, so I just settled with the 4.25 as opposed to the 4.5.
I like that you're doing 0.25s and like 0.75s now, or like increments like that now.
Hey,
I love it.
Give me the option. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it if I got the option.
Sometimes I'm tempted to use those too, because I'm like, this feels like a little bit above a 4, but not quite a 4.5, which is your exact dilemma with this book right now. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. And guys, just to let you know, Amy actually picked out this book because she's one of my Patreon members, and I let a lot of Patreons pick out a book club pick for certain months of the year. And she was chosen for not this month, August, but for last month. And I was like, well, you might as well co-host with me since like we've done book chats together. Yeah. So I did enjoy it. I do not regret reading it. I just wish it was a little tighter, and I wish I got more from the farm and more from the ending. And especially because, so he's in that gross tub, and that scene was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so gross. I mean, I say awesome, but I mean gross awesome.
Yeah, with the honey and the flies and the...
Like, I could imagine the flies, and it was freaking me out.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, just being, like, covered in flies and their little tickly feet, and you can't touch them because the knives, and, like...
You can't even sneeze, or like what if you did cough?
Like, torturous.
Oh my god, that would scare the hell out of me. But I will say, there was a lot of great elements, and I did like that. And I kind of guessed, and again, this is a big spoiler, guys, that I guessed that when he said he wanted his mom, when Josh is forced to choose between Alonzo or he says the mother. He doesn't say your mother. And then when, she comes out, it's Alonzo's mother as like this undead lady. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But all that happened so quick, like in the flash of an eye. And also, man, I kind of wish we would have gotten a little bit more with Alonzo and his mom confronting the farm people. It kind of was just like, okay, they're captured and we're in the dark about what happened. Of course, and it's because of that surprise ending.
Yeah.
But I just feel like that could have been almost like rearranged the way that happened in a way, or done a little bit differently. But again, still enjoyable read.
Sorry, I have this mosquito flying around.
That happens. Like, I hate when that happens. It happens to me all the time. In fact, I thought I saw a gnat in here, but I was like, whatevs. Come on, Kelsey, at least give it an extra 0.25. Compile, that makes sense. Really cool to hear your method.
I don't know if I'm going to use that next year, actually, because I mean, I've just been trialing it out this year and I do really like it. But at the same time, I feel like I probably would have rated it the same with or without the system. The system just kind of helps me like think out my thoughts because I have to think, okay, what did I think of the characters? What did I think of the atmosphere? But, you know, I think I still get to the same place, but
I do like that it prompts you because the only reason I kind of even know about it is from watching one of your videos where you kind of showed us where you went across and said, okay, this is going to be a whatever, whatever, whatever. And it was like all out of 10. But I like how it makes you think about the specific things because sometimes I don't. I kind of just rate on enjoyment, and maybe I should think about it more because then when I have an in-depth discussion like you and I are having, then like I second guess my whole mindset about rating. I'm like, I don't know. And this happens with Kat all the time. Kat will be talking to me about a book and I'm like, huh. Or even like I hope it happens for her with movies because I sometimes convince her to rate a movie higher. I'm like, hey, that would make
I think that's just natural when you have a discussion and you like hear other people's thoughts and you're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. But you know, your rating is still fair. And I think rating on just enjoyment is totally fine too. Like, you know, do that. It's everyone rates differently and that's totally fine.
So even if you don't do the same method, are you still going to do like a spreadsheet next year, even if you don't use the Cowpile thing?
Oh yeah, there's other spreadsheets out there that don't use Compile. I'll still definitely I like having the tracker and just like getting all of the stats and everything. Even though there's some stats through Storygraph, I still like my spreadsheets.
I do like it's the first year that I'm using a spreadsheet, and for me, it's like a game changer. I freaking am obsessed with it. I love it.
Yeah, I just like sit there and like play with it all the time. I like it. I just love it.
I actually think you and I have the same one, but like the person I got it from, she has two versions, like a non Cowpile one like you have, and like
Yeah.
one that you have. I think.
Um, I have two. I have the one that you have, and then I have the one that G, the creator of Compile,
Oh, okay.
together. So that's usually the one that I use for that rating. And then I do still have, I can't remember her name, Hardback Quarter girl. I can't remember her name. I'll use that one for just like my projects. Like you showed me how to add on the other pages. I use those for those.
Yeah, I love keeping track of like my little projects, and you could see the book thumbnail, and I'm like, yes, I love seeing that. I don't know why. I think the mother's point of view was like the Winona Ryder in season 1 of Stranger Things. That is a good comparison, Katrina. That is also very accurate, I think, now that you say that. Oh no, you tested positive today and your partner's been positive since last Thursday. I'm so sorry, Vanessa. I hope you feel better very, very soon.
Yeah, I know when we had COVID going on around the house, it took once my fever broke, it was like a week after I knew that I had it before I actually tested positive. So it's really weird how those testing things go.
I know, I know. I just hope you get over it soon, Vanessa, in terms of at least, that soon you won't have like fever and sneezing and all that. Like I know all you have is congestion and sneezing, but congestion could be the worst sometimes.
Right, yeah.
Katrina rates on vibes mostly. Like, yeah, me too for the most part. I'm just like, yeah, whatevs. We'll
I
see.
think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it your way either. I love that you take a lot of time to like think of the different categories. I actually think that's very smart, and I am tempted to do it as well. That would be fun.
I think it only works for certain books though. There's definitely like middle grade, I can't rate that way because what are you doing? And like novellas a lot of the time, just because they're so short, like how am I gonna rate something like, is your characters fully, developed or something in 80 pages? Probably not. So it only really works for certain books for me, but it helps when I need it.
Like, when you're thinking about a book like Nelfs by Sydney Williams, it's
Yeah.
like, it's not the greatest thing ever, but
Yeah.
my enjoyment level was insane. Like, so I don't know. Like, for stuff like that, I don't think it would be easy to rate that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Katrina says, this one read really quickly for me. For reading it physically because I suck at reading physically. Me too. I'm not good at that anymore. But I think, maybe if there was an audiobook, I think I would have liked it more. Just because I personally did struggle with this one, even though I have read longer physical books before, but I just think this is one that I would have loved the audio for.
Yeah. I can't say if I would have struggled or not. I mean, I kind of struggle in general just reading physically. And like I said, I had Alexa read it to me while I was reading along. So I kind of sort of had an audiobook. And I don't mind Alexa's voice at all. But I thought it read really quickly too. I really enjoyed the whole thing.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Like, I'm like I said, just to reiterate, I am glad that I read it. I'm glad you picked it out.
Yeah.
So
I'm bummed you hated it, but
no, I did not hate it. I swear.
I hope you still give Maggot Screaming a chance. I will say, like, the characters in that one too, I think are more likable than this one, but there are certain characters that are just kind of, I don't know, like, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, I even thought that in We Need to Do Something, it's not like it's like the most appealing family to hang out with.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. So there's been plenty of unlikable characters that I've enjoyed spending time with.
Yeah.
I think it was just a combination of the unlikable characters with me having some gripes with some other things. That's all. So I definitely want to give Maggot Screaming a chance because I'm dying to read that one. And also, there's one of his that I put on my list a long time ago. I'm gonna Google it really fast because I cannot remember the name of it. But
I know there's one in the back of the book because he does these like cool old school things.
Yeah, I love that.
And there was this one sounded kind of neat. The Nightly.
It's that one, yes. It's the one with the owl. Yeah,
that one sounds neat.
Yeah, The Nightly Disease, it says it's pretty well rated, by the way. It also doesn't have an audiobook, apparently, just so you know. Sleep is just a myth created by mattress salesman Isaac, a night auditor of a hotel somewhere in the surreal void of Texas, is sick and tired of his guests. When he clocks in at night, he's hoping for a nice, quiet 8 hours of Netflix binging and occasional masturbation. What he doesn't want to do is fetch anybody extra towels or dive face first into somebody's clogged toilet, and he sure as hell doesn't want to get involved in some trippy owl conspiracy or dispose of any dead bodies. But hey, that's life in the hotel business. Welcome to The Nightly Disease. Please enjoy your stay. See, that sounds amazing to me.
Yeah. I think his stories, and that one sounds like it would have like the same kind of tone.
Unlikable guy, yeah, and funny tone.
But just like, I don't know, they're just so funny to me. Like, not funny haha, but like just the tone throughout, even though like all of this crazy stuff is happening and it gets really gross and stuff. I just find just the way that he writes very easy to read and very real. Like, it's not super flowery, it's not super hard to read, it's just, I don't know, he writes kind of like he talks and like his personality is, and I really appreciate that. I think it's fun.
No, I do get his personality through the writing, and I like that, and I like the weirdness. I like how that bug, you're like trying to get it, you're like, get out of here!
Alone. It's like, I will suck your blood. It's a little tiny mosquito.
No, those are the worst. Get out of there. We don't want you biting Amy, you bitch. Kelly says, I didn't read this and probably won't. I don't think this author is for me based on previous books I've read. What other books have you read, Kelly? I'm just curious. This one wasn't my favorite, but I did love We Need to Do Something, and I'm very intrigued by Maggot Screaming and The Nightly Disease. And I, of course, even though I didn't like this one as much, I will for sure still read the other ones, like no question in my mind. This discussion has really inspired me to finally read some of his books. Yay!
I hope you do. I'd be interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Maggot Screaming is my favorite Bizarro horror I've read. Ooh, and I love Bizarro and weird horror, so that is exciting. Katrina, do you think that Maggot Screaming would be a good pick for the week of weird? Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
She
sure.
says yes. Oh, yeah, that would be a good one then. I might add that my week of weird TBR is insane.
It's only a week, Kelsey. It's only a week.
I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm just like,
And Halloween weekend starts
I know.
at the end of it. I just watched Lexi's video and I was like, oh shit, it's starting on the 28th. I was like, "Argh."
I'm gonna have to like finish up whatever I'm reading for Week of Weird, but also try to start my Halloween stuff too. It's gonna be a very weird balance, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Well, a weird balance works for the Week of Weird, so
For
there you
sure.
go.
For sure.
I think I skipped something. Katrina, how are you going to meet him? Are you going to a convention? Or is it like that local
Oh, that's
Barnes and
cool.
Noble thing that you did last year? Is that Yeah, tell us more deets. I want to know about this, Katrina.
I think he lives out that way, doesn't he? Isn't he
Oh.
from somewhere over there, I think?
Oh, I will say this reminds me, Katrina's comment reminds me. The conversations in the basement with the other victims were way too funny. It's such a horrible situation and they're making jokes. I will say I laughed out loud at the two dudes without dicks. And they kept saying, because you know me and my stupid like love of dick humor for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyway, I was laughing my ass off. They were like, bring us back some dicks or something. I can't remember what they said, but they said something when the kids were escaping, and I just laughed out loud. And I did laugh as well when I could almost picture Alonzo when he's in the straitjacket trying to slam his shoulder, and that part was making me laugh so much. But then when he finally does kind of slam his shoulder into the bear trap, I was like, oh shit. Then it on a dime turns to like painful and hard to read.
Yeah.
But then it's still kind of funny because their interaction, him and Josh's interaction as he's like stuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really liked like those scenes specifically. I did laugh out loud.
Yeah. The conversations that his characters have are always super funny.
And do you really think that woman was a cannibal? I think she was, because they kind of alluded to it later.
Yeah, I think she probably was. I trust no one in that house. They're all part of that same family. Even if she was down there, because she was down there for so long, like she had to be. Had to be.
What did you think of the element of, did you want more info about the mother, or were you okay with it being kind of vague with the idea that they came from somewhere else, they wanted to like resurrect this mother, and also the lover in the house, after like his lover got like taken over, he was still there. That was the old man
Mm-hmm.
in the kitchen or whatever that like kind of let the boys escape.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think about all that? Did you like those elements? Did you want more? Your thoughts in general on those things?
I was actually okay with not knowing more. I did want more, like I said at the end. I would have loved more as Otessa kind of took over that role as the mother and got maybe a bit more about that, or maybe a bit more about like where they came from and how they got there. I guess I would have liked a little bit more like backstory, I guess, but at the same time, I'm not mad at not having it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm fine with the unknown. It's all right. I don't mind.
So Kelly says she didn't care for Maggot Screaming. I finished it, but felt like it was a bit too long. We need to do something, or whatever it was called. I did not finish. Oh, I really liked that one a lot for some
Yeah.
reason.
I think if you didn't like them, either of those, you're totally fine not reading anymore.
Oh, Katrina might reread Maggot Screaming for the Week
fun.
of Weird, because I didn't do the audio when I first read it.
Oh,
Oh.
the audio's good.
Well, I know Week of Weird, you just said it's only a week, but hey, I mean, maybe I could squeeze in the audio. I doubt it, but we'll see. He's going to be at the Halloween Hangover at my local Barnes & Noble. Oh, that's so
cool.
I hope you get a picture with him or something, Katrina.
Yeah, he feels. I feel like he would be a blast to me. Like he would just be like a cool, super cool guy.
Yeah, it seems like he would be, just because of his sense of humor in his books, like
Yeah.
almost like he's really sarcastic. And I think I read this at the back of, because the only reason I didn't read the author's note is because I was doing like a really long reading session to finish up Touch the Night. Like it was one of those times where like I was in the room for like 3 hours finishing the book, and I was like, I'll get to the author's note later, and then never did, which I should have before this conversation, but I kind of forgot that it even existed. But I believe I did read the author's note after, unless I'm thinking of a totally different person. We Need to Do Something. I thought I had read that he used to work at a hotel
I'm not sure.
and that he took a chance writing, and I thought it was We Need to Do Something because I thought, didn't they make that into a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm almost positive that in that author's note, he talks about how he used to work at a hotel. So I bet his book, The Nightly Disease, kind of draws from that experience because
Yeah.
the main character works in a hotel.
Yeah. It seems like he draws inspiration from his life and his family. I'll read a little bit of the author's note or the acknowledgments.
Sure.
He put, I don't know if my own mom would have done everything the mothers in Touch the Night do to save their kids if I found myself in a similar position, but I think she would have probably at least shot a couple cops. I mean, she's shot at cops for much less before. So it would be very surprising if suddenly she decided to draw the line after my hypothetical abduction. Like, what? His mom is shot in cuffs? I want that story.
His mom is like hardcore as hell. Like, damn, your mom, bitch. Like, she seems badass, kind of.
And then he put, Touch the Night would have never been written if 2 asshole cops hadn't slammed my face into the hood of their car and screamed homophobic slurs at me when I was 12 years old. So thanks to the police of Lake Station, Indiana, I guess. And then he says, I'll leave you with one final note. Fuck the police.
That's amazing. I love that note. I will say, so one of the things, like, I was on board with Mary because, you know, even though Mary kind of let loose when she was hanging out with Otessa and kind of was like, I guess, just giving into her grief, which is understandable. She was so stressed, so, you know, over her husband who is a dick, which
Yeah.
I totally understand her being like overwhelmed and kind of being just like, whatevs, I'm gonna help Otessa. At least she freaking cares, unlike my dickhole husband.
Mhm.
So I totally was on board with Mary for a long part of the story, but then that one good police officer offering to help them, and then all of a sudden he gets blown away, and they're like, just leave him, whatevs. Like, I was like, I guess, like, I understand them having to go, but just their flippantness about leaving him when he was like gonna help them. Not even the fact that he was a police officer, he could have been like a regular dude. Just that somebody was going out of their way and facing all of the odds to help them. And both Mary and Otessa were like, like whatever. So I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
But I know there's more pressing things like, you know, their children and stuff, but just
Yeah.
like their gut reaction when he got shot, I was just like, man, they don't even give a shit. Like, kind of sucks.
Yes. Yeah.
So that part kind of hit me. I was like, I don't know. I kind of felt like that dude was kind of nice for helping or trying to help.
The one nice guy in town that they come across.
Yeah. And they're just like, fuck you too, bitch. I was like, oh shit.
Casualties.
Casualties, true. I feel like I'm an a-hole who claims to like reading and always hates everything I read. Oh, Kelly. Sometimes you just got to be in the mood, I think.
I think so too. I think you really like, because I've had books that I'm like, I force myself through and I'm like, you know what? I probably would have liked this at a different time. And it's just like right now, I'm not in the mood for a story like this. I think you're smart to DNF as much as you do. And, you know, you can always revisit it later on. But
Yeah. I feel like knowing like your mood and yourself, like, so you're getting into a book, it might not even be like Amy just said that the book's not for you. It just might not be for you right then.
yeah,
And it doesn't mean you don't like reading. Just maybe sometimes you just don't feel like reading and nothing will like satisfy like the thing you're looking for, like whether it be fast paced or maybe something like kind of casual and fun, depending on your mood, for instance. So
Yeah.
don't feel like that, Kelly. The truck driver scene was one of my favorites. Oh yeah, that truck driver was so freaking weird.
I thought he was sketchy and was up to something. I did not expect him to be like a decent dude. That
Yeah.
story was crazy though. The whatever her name was, I took a note of it, but like her getting her arms chopped off and all that stuff happening to her and getting thrown off a cliff and like somehow she gets stays alive and goes up the cliff armless. I was like, what?
I know. I
That's
really
wild.
thought he was going to do something terrible to them, like be like, "Come in the back cot with me" or something. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit."
I thought he was going to be one of the bad dudes because he was
Yeah.
weird, but
He was, and just the way he like said things, and the I think at one point he even kind of fussed at them, like, "Pay attention to what I'm saying.
mhm,
I'm telling you this important story," and they're
mhm,
like, "Okay, okay,"
yeah,
like freaking out. But after finding out that he's good, obviously, because he gets killed,
yeah,
I kind of was like, "Oh, I guess he was cool after all." I liked him a little bit.
yeah,
Now that I knew he was good, I was like, I kind of liked him.
yeah.
That's a good shout out, Katrina, because I forgot about that scene, and I did like that truck driver character. This book came out in June 2020, like perfect timing. I don't know if I would have picked this book at the time. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I do think he started writing during COVID times. I think that was part of his author's note for we need to do something. And so I'm guessing he kind of was prolific during that time if he wrote that and this came out in 2020. He must have wrote this during that time too or around that time. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Just how he kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, I know he's written for a long time. It says on his I was looking up his Wikipedia and it says, he started writing when he was 7 years old,
Mhm.
but he wasn't like a published actual
Right.
author, I think, until COVID.
Yeah. I
So,
I definitely hadn't heard of him until like a year or two ago. So,
you and Katrina are the first person or the first people that I ever heard talk about him because I think you both ended up reading him like last year or maybe the year before at the end of the year before, but you both talked about him in certain videos that I watched very close together, and I don't know if it was both maggot screaming or something else, but I just remember you guys talking about it separately, and I was like, I gotta make a note of that, and that's why it's on my Amazon like want to read list or whatever. So yeah, I wouldn't have. I mean, I know I would have found out about him because of Lexi and just word of mouth and hearing about books from the internet. But
yeah.
I heard about him from you guys first. I know I did. I just have
Yeah.
this like memory of seeing you both talk about him.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that like more people don't talk about him because I mean, I guess like not all of his books are like super highly rated or anything, but even among like the horror community, like I don't know, I just don't hear him talked about a lot. And I guess he doesn't release books like super fast, but
I mean,
I'm just thinking
he's got a good backlist of books
he
out.
does. But like other than Katrina and myself and like Lexi with we need to do something. I hear people talk about we need to do something, I think probably the most, but I never hear anyone talk about any of his other books. And it blows my mind because I think he's a really good author.
Yeah, and I'm down to read The Nightly Disease. Like, I'm kind of super intrigued. Even though it doesn't have an audiobook, I still want to read it, even after this. Because, again, it's not like I had this terrible experience reading this and I hated it. It's just that I personally would have just liked a few things tweaked. But otherwise, I still had a fun time, an entertaining and interesting ride along with the reading journey. I will say, I think both Max Booth III and David Sodergren, when you think about really not popular, but like guys who should be popular, like in the indie scene, I feel like both
Mhm.
of them could be talked about a little bit more. I think
Yeah.
Max Booth III is even less talked about than David Sodergren, but both I feel like
Mhm.
deserve a little bit more credit in like the indie horror world
Yeah, I would
because
agree.
their books are pretty easy to find and they seem pretty prolific and both great indie authors, but not a lot of people talk about both of them for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I didn't know she read that one.
Yeah, she did. She really liked it too.
Oh, well, I gotta read that one. Oh, I will say, so Lexi did want to read this one, but she texted me today and she's like, I didn't get to it. I forgot about it. And like, I was gonna do it for a vlog at the end of September. So like, I kept putting it off and then I forgot.
Yeah, I expected like once I realized there was no audio, I was like, well, I know that's gonna affect like how many people actually read the book because I know a lot of people, including myself, depend on those.
Yeah, I didn't used to, but now this year it's like my freaking lifeblood is an audiobook.
Yeah,
It's very hard to do without one, but
yeah, especially with a bigger book, like a novella or something is easier to get through, but a 400-page book, you're gonna need one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping that the Nightly Disease gets one because right now it doesn't seem to have one, but I would still read it physically. Like I said, it just takes a little bit more effort and time. You got to be okay with not rushing yourself through a book, not going through as fast as you may have
Yeah,
gone with an audiobook. And
yeah,
sometimes that's hard to reconcile with, but you have to get into that mindset when you're reading physical, bigger books.
yeah. Or get okay with Alexa reading it to you again.
Yeah, I gotta try that. I just have never ever set it up before. So you buy the ebook
Mhm.
and you basically have to connect your Alexa to your Kindle app.
I downloaded the Alexa app on my phone,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I just say, "Hey Alexa, read me blah 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 on Kindle," and she
Oh,
reads it. But it can only be like a Kindle book. Like she won't read PDF files. So like I can't have her read me any arcs that I get through NetGalley, or like I guess if it was like a an Apple book or something, they wouldn't be able to. But because it's the same program, she can access that and read it. She
that's
she
badass.
doesn't always like pronounce like if they're like weird names, she won't always pronounce everything right. Or sometimes like if it's read, she'll pronounce it red or something like that. But I'm used to it and I'm fine with it.
I might try that for like the next bigger book that doesn't have audio but has a Kindle copy that I own because why not? I'm just gonna see if it works for me or not.
It's good when you're in a pinch.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Katrina's on the same page, loves a Sodagrin. Yeah, me too. I know Amy didn't love one of the Sodagrins she read, but did love the other.
Yeah, I really got to read some more stuff of his because I really liked The Forgotten Island. That was fun.
I think you'd like Dead Girl Blues. It's heavy, but it's really good. Andrew says, does Alexa only have one reading speed or can you adjust it?
Um, you can read at, I think it's only 1.5 and 2. Like there's not a lot of variation. And it only goes up to 2. So like if you're someone who usually reads on 3 times speed, it's probably going to read really slow for you. But yeah, it's just those either 1, 1.5, or 2.
And in a pinch, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
If you can handle like the voice tone and all of that.
Yeah.
That's good to know because I didn't know it adjusted speed either. That's awesome. Yay. Amy is giving us all the facts, all the tidbits or whatever. Well, I pretty much went through all that I had to say on it. Do you want to add anything about Max Booth or Touch the Night?
No, no, I think we went over everything.
Anybody in the comments have anything to add? Any favorite characters, favorite moments, favorite parts? Katrina, I'm so glad you loved it and you called it a favorite. I'm so glad you loved it, Amy. I did like it. I didn't hate it. A 3 doesn't mean I hate a book.
Just
Everyone,
say you hated it, Kelsey. It's fine.
no, I will not freaking go into the fall into everyone's assumption that I hate a book because it's a 3-star.
It's fine. It's fine.
I know. I just there's just things I wish would have been a little different, but still love the weirdness in the basement and the farm place. That was so cool, so gross. I have thought about that tub of honey and like gross old like food and milk and the flies a lot since I read the book, so clearly it has some staying power with me.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be thinking of that, but like I have thought
I
of
know.
it.
Out of all of the things in the
know.
book, like thinking about that gross bathtub.
I know it's like for some reason that really sticks out to me, and I don't know why. Aw, Andrew, thank you. I know Andrew didn't read it, but he was like, I don't care, I'm gonna get spoiled. And he was just telling me he was gonna come anyway. So thanks for supporting us, Andrew. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much. And if anyone tuned in to the chat but didn't read it, I would love to know if you do read it, even though we spoiled a lot of it, what you end up thinking of it, just in case anyone does get to it, even after listening to our chat. All right, guys, that's it for us. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.